My name is Dan Gress. I'm the head coach for Troy High School. This was my fifth year being here at Troy. My first year being the head coach. My first year out of college was under Coach Snyder, being an assistant at Northmont. I've had some great opportunities coaching under absolutely tremendous head coaches and playing under tremendous head coaches, starting with Coach Snyder, getting to see, truly leading that program and seeing how other kids experience their high school programs and being able to say, man, that's how you do it, and that's how you treat kids. So nothing but absolutely tremendous things to say about Coach Snyder. And then, unfortunately, in the moment, having a bunch of head coaches go through at Kent State, kind of sucked at the time. But looking back at it, got to see a lot of different styles and some things I really liked, and some things, to be honest, I didn't like. Getting to spend, 4 years under Coach Burbacher and seeing all the great things he does and what he brings, and be able to, add that to my arsenal. Here at Troy, I couldn't be luckier. The staff couldn't be luckier. The program couldn't be luckier. It starts with the kids. We have absolutely tremendous kids. Obviously, on the field, we have some great ball players, but more importantly, off the field, these kids amaze me every day of the stuff they do off the field, from community service to how they treat others, how they act in the school, how they act around the community. And then myself personally could not be luckier, and the program could not be luckier with the assistant coaches we have here. Most importantly, they're in it for the kids. Everything they do starts for the players. And one other unique thing I think about our assistant coaching staff is they all love Troy. The majority of them live here or went to school here. The majority of them work in the school system, or they work within, Troy city limits. And that's kind of how, it says simplicity on and off the field. And that's how I approach my day-to-day operations being the head coach, starting with the players. So everything I do first is for the players. And if anything comes up that I'm doing that has to do with a player, I make sure I take care of that first. And then I make sure I always take care of the assistant coaches. Because that's the backbone of the program, the players and the assistant coaches. It has nothing to do with me, so I make sure that they're always taken care of. And I'm, just wanted to say how lucky I am to be a part of the Troy football program and the Troy community. My wife and I absolutely love it here, and it's pretty neat to drive home 5 minutes from the stadium, go out to dinner with it, throughout Troy, where you see everyone else, and be a part of the community as well, not just the football program. So, I decided to do simplicity, say doing the simple things better, and just kind of show kind of how we do it with our off-season program, and then how we translate it to football. And I chose special teams since I do the special teams. So what we can see with simplicity, people always ask me, Coach, as soon as I got the job, you're young. What did you do to get the head coaching job? And I think sometimes people think, or I feel like I need to give some type of, elaborate answer. If I had this huge master plan of what I was ready to do, and I just tell them, I just showed up and did my best possible job as a D-line coach. And then when I was promoted to special teams coordinator, I showed up and did my best possible job doing special teams. And then really my approach, which is very simplistic, has not changed with the head coach role with that. What I put up here, where I'm going to talk about our off-season program first, is, after my first year being the head coach, and all of the assistant coaches, we kind of, like any coaching staff does, sat back and did a lot of reflection of what we did well, what we need to improve on, and what we need to do to take the next step forward and not go back. And my biggest thing was that I looked at myself and looking at the program and the coaches is, and we need to go back to our roots, being simplistic and doing the little things better than everyone else. Go back there. And so, going back to it, it's like, man, there's so many cool things you can do for a program. And so, I think I tried to do a little too much. Us coaches tried to do a little too much. That first year, you're so excited, you have the reins. So go back to the drawing board and who Troy is, what we can do, and what we can do better, and try to do better than everyone else. So, to hone in on that and to give it to the boys, I came up with what I call points of the program. There's 4 traits and 1 goal. Any coach, any player can remember 4 things you have to do, and they're 1 goal. So we went over this with the players before we started our off-season program and said, focus on these 5 things. Everything else will take care of itself. And so you can see within each trait and goal, there's kind of a saying under it. So we're not just telling them, hey, be dedicated. This is what dedication looks like. Have great work ethic. This is what a great work ethic looks like. And then, when we show the kids this, we give them a quote with it after. And so when we're talking about simplicity and the focusing on only 4 traits and 1 goal, we show them the quote of, we don't have to do a million things. We only have to do a couple things and focus on trying to do them better than everyone else. So our first point of the program, and I always tell the kids it's the most important, because if you don't have this, there's really not much else we can do for you, and that's dedication. Are you going to be where you're supposed to be every time, and are you going to be on time? And the way we show it to them is what we call our all-in board. So when you walk into the weight room, there's an all-in board up, and your name's either on the left side, which says all in, or your name's on the other side, which says nothing. So we know at all times who's all in. How are you all in to us? 100% attendance and on time, and no failing grades. You can tell me you can't play for us if you're going to be ineligible as well. So for the players, it says be on the board, and that's how you know they're dedicated. And for what us coaches are able to focus on and do for the players is have the all-in board ready for them. And then what we also do for the boards, is have a varsity depth chart. So throughout the year, we're always constantly monitoring, player development, where our players are. So, for example, we don't get caught off guard. That all of a sudden we have no linebackers coming up for next year, and we have to do a bunch of switching around. We have a freshman board all the way down to really a junior high board, and the kids coming up. And for those, that's a big thing for numbers on the board. Not that it's all about having, quantity, but it does help when you get those freshmen up there. The more numbers, the better. The more opportunities to have players that are going to be, good players for you on Friday nights. And then we have what we call a recruit section. I know I always say it, and coaches are like, whoa, and it's our big push with the board is recruiting our hallways. Each coach has a challenge of finding 3 new players to recruit in the hallway that don't play football right now. And it doesn't really matter what grade they're in, but, our thinking behind it is that, say we get 10 new players a year, well, one of those players, their senior year, are going to graduate, and us coaches are going to be able to say, wow, could you imagine if we didn't have them on the team this year? To help get numbers on the board, we have elementary visits every spring, a junior high event, an 8th grade signing day, which we were going to start this year, but unfortunately, circumstances, that doesn't look like it's going to happen. And then a new thing that we started, a Trojan Brotherhood lunches. And with that, very simple. Players just go and eat with the football players over at the junior high and at our 6th grade building. And so when we talk about dedication with the kids, we say dedicate, be on the board. And if it's important to you, you'll find a way. If it isn't, you'll find an excuse. So if it's important to you, you'll be at lifting every day. If not, you'll be able to give me what you think is a good excuse in your head of why you couldn't be there. Next, we have work ethic. Work ethic, you can kind of describe, obviously, in a million ways to kids what that means. And what we decided on as a staff was crush your role. And the main reason we decided on that is almost all locker room riff, and we saw it last year, is players not understanding their role and being disgruntled about it. The players from all the way from seniors who think they should be playing to sophomores who think their role doesn't matter, and they're going to mess around on Friday nights in the locker room. And so you can't all of a sudden get to the season and think, wow, now we're going to talk to them about their role and what it means to be, a great teammate. We started now. So the assistant coaches mentor the kids, and they meet with them at least once a month within the position unit, one-on-one, and kind of talk to them of, how their day-to-day is going, to how their goals are going, all the way to preparing them for what their possible role could be. And sometimes when we talk about this, some people think, well, you're trying to hold a kid down. No, here's your role right now, and here's what you need to do, though, to achieve your goals and take it to the next level. And the quote we give them, in the long run, the cream always rises and the crap always sinks. We chose this quote to explain this trait to the kids is, if you think you want to be an all-star on Friday night, well, you better be an all-star Friday night while you're on the sidelines as a sophomore. You better be an all-star on Saturday during JV games. You better be a great teammate on Saturdays if you're going to be a great teammate on Fridays. You can't flip the switch. Our third trait, love your teammate. I first had this saying last year because, one thing I thought we had to prove it as a program and as a team. We knew what type of team we were when the going was good. Everyone loved each other. Everyone was go happy. But I really didn't like what we saw when the going got tough. And so, that was a big focus and emphasis last year of, all right, the going's going to get tough, which it did a lot of games last year. What type of team are we going to be? Are we still going to love each other and play for each other? Are we going to turn on each other? I think we did a tremendous job at that last year. So now we're saying to the kids, all right, I know we love each other. Now if we truly love each other and we want to achieve our goals, hold each other accountable. That is true love. And hold them accountable to our program standards and hold them accountable to your standards. And so for the kids saying for that is up, up, up. Stole this from Cincinnati football. Every time a player was on the ground, we went to their spring practice, all the players were yelling up, 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 and grabbing them up. Not only is that a great habit for, staying off the ground as a football player, you get that feel component of bringing your teammate up. And so when someone's not living to the program standards, we bring them up. We don't push them farther down. And for the coaches, what we do for them on that is accountability groups. The seniors lead the accountability groups. So instead of telling me why they had to miss a workout because they had a dentist appointment, they tell their senior. If someone's not doing what they're supposed to be doing in the weight room, I have the senior address it and not myself first. And so when we're talking about this with them, and we give them the quote that, all right, if you want to be, a good team, an average team, and get the same results we've always gotten here at Troy, let the coaches lead and do what we've always done. If we want to take it to the next level and get better, you guys are going to have to lead. If we want to be an elite team, the players are going to have to lead. Our final trait, it says elite citizen for the kids, and it's as simple as our player code of conduct, which is respect the star. So we have the player code of conduct up there, and it's as simple as, no matter what situation you're in, act that you would make this program proud. And we came up with this, when I took over last year for my first year, everyone has to have a player code of conduct or all these rules. And I'm thinking, man, see all these other teams have these rules that are, a list of 20 or 15 things. My coaches aren't going to remember that. So the players definitely aren't. What can we come up with that the players will remember and resonate? And so we came up with respect the star. Respect the star in any situation you're in. So what do the coaches do? So to teach them how to do that, not just say it, we have real life Wednesdays where we talk about, trades from everything, obviously stealing that from Ohio State. And then we give them volunteer opportunities. So in the off season, once a month, we go out and we make sure it's within the Troy community and give them a chance to give back and show them what it's really all about. And one big thing we tell them, this will catch up with us at one point. If we're not respecting the star at one point, it's going to catch up with us on the field in the wrong way. If we are, it will show when we want it to, when the lights are on us. And so, like I said, we always give them a quote with it. And this is the biggest thing that we talk with Real Life Wednesdays, and really not just football, but life in general. And I think it's so important for kids these days, seeing the big picture. It's not about you. It's not about you. It's not about you. So when a player shoves you in the back after the play, it's not about you. It's about the team not getting the penalty, which that's obviously an area we got to get better at. And we give them examples of coaches. We struggle with this too. We always tell them, you think teachers all love football coaches. Most do. Some don't. But there's sometimes, football coaches have to keep our mouths shut because it's not about us. It's about the program. Our only goal that we have on there is playoff push. We want to make a push in the playoffs. Winning league titles, making it to the first round. Those are still our goals, and that's absolutely a tremendous, achievement. But you're either going up or you're going down, is what we tell them. And so we want to make a playoff push. Some people talk, only 10 feet ahead, and we do agree with that. You have to focus on each day, but we want to make sure that our players and our coaching staff have ingrained in our head that when we do make it to the first round of the playoffs, we're expecting to move on, and we're not hoping to move on. And so for the players, if we want to get out of our comfort zone in the fall, which is making it far in the playoffs, we better get out of our comfort zone now in the weight room, in practice, in the classroom. So when we talk about that, we give the players the quote, life's on an incline. We're either going to go up or we're going to go down. One big thing we're talking to with the players right now and all the classes, all the grades, is you're a part of exciting times for Troy football. 15 years from now, you're going to be the classes that are going to be the reason where Troy football is. Now, let's make sure that's a good thing and not a bad thing, because we're either going to go up from, the league titles and playoff pushes that we've had, or we're going to slide back down. So we take all that info, all the everything, all the information we're trying to, instill into the kids, all the traits, all the goals. And I guess this is the simplistic approach that I was talking about. So we take all of that and we give the kids this. They can remember 4 traits and 1 goal, and focus on those things and trust that everything else will take care of itself. So that's all we show the kids during the off season, is the points of the program, and focus on those. So then the other part of my presentation is, that simplistic approach we showed for the off season and how we, approach it with football. I chose special teams because that's what I do. Special teams coordinator for the last 4 years now. And so the number one thing I put for weekly special teams game planning is time. That sounds very simple, but I truly do believe some programs do, and so some programs don't. You need to treat your special teams game planning and your special teams prep just like an offensive coordinator would, just like a defensive coordinator would, and put that time in on Sunday and make sure you're prepared just like an offensive and defensive coordinator would do with that. And so my big prep day for special teams is on Sunday, just as most offense and defensive coordinators are on Sunday, of breaking all the film down and start coming up with the game plan. So what I do for special teams is watch all the plays from last week, last year's game that we had with them, of how they're probably going to attack us and the looks that we can expect. And all the special teams plays, every single one that we had on them this year and that we had on them the year before. And so really just taking the same approach you would with an offense and defense of game plan of watching your opponent. We need to know their exact scheme, the numbers, the players that are subbing in, the players that stay in, who their playmakers are, just like you would for offense and defense, And one big thing that you can't put in a list is just the need to know info that pops up that is specific and individualized for that specific team. So we take all of this information, and I think this is a simplistic approach, and the coach's responsibility. How can you morph it into a game plan that the players can know and execute at high speed without thinking on Friday night, with only having, you guys know how special teams goes, not that much meeting time and the little practice time allotted. So starting with punt, this is our basic punt scheme, your standard tight punt. We are a man scheme, and so the way we approach it and teach it to kids, obviously there's four of us on each side. So if there's only three guys walked up, you three have those three. If there's four guys walked up, you four have those four. If it's 5x4 or 4x5, personal protector, go to the side with more people. If they overload a side, punter, kick it away from the 6-man side. Now, obviously, there's a little more that goes into that, but that's that simplistic approach we take with punt. Any player can remember this and be able to focus on their technique and what they need to know for the punt play. When going through my punt team checklist, what I'm looking for, and I'm watching the film of the team we're playing, what are the alignments they're going to give us? What do we need to prepare for, and how can I morph it down into the kids? Remember, this is more than likely what you're going to see. Always look for, do they have one or do they have two returners? That's big for the kids, because if they have two returners, we practice all week, two returners. So they know, to find the ball where the ball's kicked, and the punter can yell it, so they don't, fall for the one returner acting like he's catching it and the other one does. One big one for us is the stance and indicator. I love the punt block teams that they're holding you up when they have their hand up and it's not in the dirt and they're standing square and they're almost standing straight up staring at you. Or we can tell kids, hey, if their hand goes in the dirt, they're coming after it. You better get ready. Do they walk around or they get lined up? That affects the game planning of our number count. If they just get lined up and there, you're going to be able to point and you're good. If they walk around, that's going to take a little more focus and a little more communication. Do they sub anyone out? And if so, who do they sub in and out for their punt return team? One big thing for that we look at is that kind of affects what we can and cannot do with our quarterback pooch punt. One thing that we had for the last 4 years, which we had shield punt, was we always had in the back pocket if we had to make an A-gap blocking adjustment. So if, usually in shield punt, the A-gaps, you let the two people in the A-gaps run free and give them to your bulls. Well, some teams are just putting their biggest, baddest dudes run free, full steam ahead into your bulls. Sometimes you can make the adjustment, to chip those guys and let the guys in the B gap come free if they're not as dangerous to block the punt. Do they double the long snapper? Really not too many adjustments for that besides telling the long snapper sucks for you. Letting our guys know, hey, you might, block your guy and he's continuing to go try to block the punt. Have your eyes up ready to go. There's going to be a second level guy to pick you up. One big thing, does the returner catch it on the bounce? Sounds little, but to have the mindset ingrained all week with our guys, ball's bouncing, you better be in position ready to tackle him. Because he's a playmaker. He's going to catch it, and he's going to try to make something happen. Is their returner dangerous enough that we need to angle it away from him or even kick it out of bounds? If that's worth it. If he does catch it, or does pick up on the bounce, does he always take it to his bench, the wide side, short side, his right or left? Another big thing we always see in film, if a guy takes away from you and completely is running away from you, go find the wall. So we take all that information and morph it into this right here. So you can see that simplistic approach I've been talking about. So we take all that information and are able to give it into the kids for 4 bullet points. Here's the look that you're going to see 99% of the time. You can see the team that we were playing this week, edge guys, the number ones, always go force the punt. You three are going to have those three. And then the other big one is two returners. So all week, this is the look they saw. We made sure that every time they got lined up, two returners. And that's what we repped. And this is the only thing they had to think about. And then what we showed with them is we'd give them one rep a day. Of all of a sudden, those two inside backers would walk up and they would start yelling, "Here they come, they're coming, they're coming." Because we know the only time they actually rushed and came after the punt is when everyone walked up and was coming after it. Here's another example of a game plan we had. They double the long snapper. So those two inside backers, we were telling the long snapper, get ready, here they go. Stance is an indicator. You can see the 3x3 look that all they would do is be standing there with their feet, shoulder width, and standing almost straight up, and they were going to hold them up. So we tell them, you see that, get ready to recognize hold up and go and cover. And then they did have a wall hold up. So we said, if all of a sudden everyone takes off away from you, go find the wall. They're setting a wall. Here's another game plan and adjustment. So this was a team for us that, they would just walk everyone around. There's no way you could get a count because they were stemming, switching, walking people up, jumping back and forth. So I said, you know what, this week, boys, just to keep it simple for you, we're going to go gap scheme. Everyone steps to the gap to their right. Everyone steps to the gap to their left. Run through who you have. Left and right up back. Take your A gap. And it was that simple that week. So here's just a couple clips of our punt team. So we told them all week that the people are going to walk up late. We told them this guy right here, he's not going to go. He's just going to check our personal protector and make sure that he's not doing anything for a fake. So we know we didn't have to account for him in the block count. And everyone's taking 1, 2, 3, 4. 1. Doesn't have to worry about him. He chips. 2, 3. Here's kind of a good look with our U4. Have these 4. U4. Have these 4. This was 1 week. Sydney had a really good returner. We told him, get ready. If he can, he will pick it up on the bounce and try to make something happen with it. And then this is our quarterback pooch punt, which actually turned out to be pretty effective for us and something that we started using more towards the middle of the season and towards the end. What I talked about of what we looked at, you can see they didn't drop anyone back. There was no returners, an easy chance to get it down inside the 10. Just didn't make the play. This is a team that showed that if all these guys back here, the second level guys did not walk up, then they weren't going to come. They only were going to have one guy forced to punt, which you can see. So that's what we repped all week for our boys to be ready for. And if these linebackers would have walked up, and then we would have been yelling, here they come, and they would have known that they were coming after the punt. So what I have right here is what we look for what type of fake, and even if we think we can get a fake for them this week. And so some of the things that we check off that we think we could be able to get because of what they show or what we know we can't get. The obvious in the first one, do they cover your eligible wide receivers? So is there a pass that you would be able to get because they don't cover them? If we want to run a fake with a run, do we have the numbers inside and the leverage and the gap scheme inside? or do we have the gap scheme on the outside for what we can be able for the run play? One other big, does everyone turn and run with their hold-up guy? That's your obvious where the punter catches it, takes a couple steps, then takes off. Do they always force a punt? So sometimes there's teams that always force a punt. You're like, man, we're not going to be able to get a fake this week. One big thing that some coaches forget about is their defense safe, susceptible to a fake? Sometimes a team's defense safe, you actually will be able to get a fake more than off their actual punt return team. One big thing is because that defense isn't used to lining up against that type of punt team. With me, the way I view fakes is honestly, I'm going to usually probably just go for it with our actual offense. Punt fakes are more for momentum changers, keeping a team accountable if they're not respecting something. So here's your standard the fake punts that we've used or at least have planned. This is your old stampede where everyone blocks down, kicking out. Your pass, and what we were saying right here is they're not going to be able to account for this guy. This guy will run with him. This guy was always occupied with the long snapper and never had enough time to react. So if he did, he was going to have to choose anyway. And they always forced this guy to go get the punt, so there was no one covering him either. And then this is what I was talking about. If a team just locks up and everyone turns and runs and no one forces the punt, or even if one guy does, and then you can do the old where the punter catches it, takes a couple steps, then everyone takes off. So the next thing we have is our punt return team, our punt block team. This is just our basic, generic, how we get lined up so our kids can always know what their alignment is. And we tell them it starts with the corners, next gap down safeties, next gap down linebackers, next gap down ends, and then you have your tackle with your linebacker off. Now, we, to be honest, don't use this exact lineup each week, but this is, how we start and build that foundation so our guys know how to line up, and then we tweak it each week specific to the team that we're playing. What we had my first couple of years, special teams, we only would call, block middle, block right, block left, and keeping it being simple. If you're block right and you're going to go block, if you don't get it, you're setting the wall. The other side is doing hold up. Something that everyone has, everyone's seen, everyone's ran. Same with block left, hold up right. And then middle hold up. The middle, two A gaps. If you're a D lineman, you're forcing the punt. Everyone else holding you up. So when looking at a punt team, what I'm looking for the punt block checklist, what are their alignments? So obviously most of the time they stay in their normal alignment and don't change, but you have those teams that like to adjust depending on what hash they're on or sending a guy in motion. What their numbers are, obviously, especially important. What is the shield? What are the bowls numbers? What are the eligible wide receivers numbers? What is the punter's numbers? Who subs? Are they subbing a bunch of people in? Or sometimes we face a couple punt teams that kind of hurts us of knowing if they're going to go for it or not. They don't sub anyone in, and they just keep all the same guys there. Is their long snapper fast? Do we need to double him because we have no chance of returning if he's that quick? What's their depth for their protectors? That affects our punt block point. One big thing to give our guys is their cadence indicator, all the way from, you have the bowls that take their mouthpiece out, put it in, and then the ball's getting snapped, which then you also have, which I love, you have the bowl that waves his arm. That's almost saying to our guys, here they go, get ready, wave the arm, you're going. All the way to the frontline guys that, stand up, point, stand back down, ball snapped. So what we're able to tell those boys to, for their get off, what's the punter depth, block point, what's his punt average? Punt average is for our returner to tell him where to stand, how far off to be able to catch the punt. One big thing for our punt block is he left or right-footed, and does he sway? So if he's right-footed and he sways to his right, well, we're going to set it up so we're blocking that point there and who we bring to go block it. We're not going to come from the completely opposite side. That just wouldn't make sense. Ball trajectory, one big thing, if we have a punter that is not that good, he kicks a line drive, that might not be a week to do hold up because you don't want to get hit in the back. Do we have two returners needed? Are we playing on turf? And he's going to hit a line drive, and if the ball starts rolling, they're going to get 30 plus yards on that. So do we need to have two returners that week so we may be able to pick it up and have the advantage and field advantage? What's their scheme? Are they man, gap, combo? And that's how we're going to attack. And one big thing is, well, if they've gotten their punt block like this way before and they haven't made adjustments, you can probably go after it the exact same way, or almost got it blocked. And one big thing, and like I talked about, treating it just like offense or defense, who's their guy that's really good at doing his job and who's their guy that's really bad at doing his job. And that's who we're going to probably go after and try to attack and blocking it. So here's just some examples of that. I pulled random game plans that we showed to the kids. So like I said, we take all that information and only give this to the kids. This is all they have to remember. The punter here kicked it all over the field, and they always got 20 plus yards on the bounce. So we went two returners this week. Big thing was, well, we can't let it bounce. We need to make sure, telling the returners, off returner, block the most dangerous man. We always say block for your buddy. Don't let him get killed. Absolutely no balls rolling. That's all we cared about this week, that the ball was not going to roll for 30 yards inside our 5-yard line. Get ready to yell, Peter, 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 to get our kids away from it. All we told the front line, Bull is an athlete. If they're going to fake it, this is the only guy that they're going to snap it to. This is the only guy that's going to fake it. These two guys are O-linemen. He's their starting running back. Guess what they're going to do? He's their quarterback. Guess what they're going to do? We don't care about them. And the only person that we were setting it up for this week to block was this guy right here. We told all these guys, don't expect to block it. We're going to expect him to come down on him, force him to block. They don't move. It was a short depth for their bulls this week. They were almost at 4.5 yards for their bulls. Come right off the edge, take your hand off and take it. This was our only punt block. This is all we did. So it took care of the roll and took care of our block and covering our eligible wide receiver, so they didn't have to fake on us. Here's another example. You could tell we only gave our kids 3 things to remember this week. The punter is an athlete. That's why we're sending the guys off the edge. We told them don't even try to block it. If he feels pressure, you better be ready for him to take off, and you guys on the edge be ready to block him. Their punt scheme for their blocking scheme, everyone blocked out. So we knew that we were going to get 4-on-3 with the Bulls. And so that was what we were going for right here. And we also made sure we walked guys up, even if just in case they try to make an adjustment to make them honor them, and then they just would walk off and check the fake. Another example, this was a team that their bulls, they're told, you can just tell, stand still and take the hit. Don't ever move. Don't look outside. Your job is to take care of the 2 inside gaps you guys create. So what we were looking for was to occupy them with the 2 inside rushers, occupy their guards with these guys going, and then these guys always blocked out, even if there was a man on them. So we have our 2 safeties. We knew for a fact we're going to come free, and the Bulls were not going to move. This is one that you can tell it's almost the exact same one I had from last time, but what I talked about, the punter was right-footed, and he didn't do a rugby punt, but he'd take a couple steps to his right, and he would sway to his right with that. So, and you could tell where he would kick it. This is how we aligned. We aligned a guy in the middle, and the guy to the edge. So if he, was off on hitting it, we still had a guy here to get it, but this guy was right here by the sideline, ready to pick it up and take it right up the sideline. So we had all of our eligible receivers covered, still having a pretty good chance to block. And I'm pretty sure this is the game we did block it with this punt scheme right here. And 2 guys checking the fake and picking up second level, ready to go as soon as they release. And being simplistic, most of the time for the type of punt scheme that we're facing, our defense safe. All we do is call our cover three. The corner this year would trade with the safety, so anyone can remember that. The corner goes, yo, safety, trade with me. They trade. He's our returner. Right here is we roll Ricky, and we tell D, if you're a D lineman, go block it. Everyone else, play the pass. And we do preach to our D linemen because you can tell right here the punt scheme, most of the time they're going to have free runners let into their bowls. So you never know what could happen. I put this clip, just finding random clips. All week, I found this funny all week. I'm drawing it up. We have an overload right here, 5 against 4. So all week, and what they showed all year was this guy was going to block him, leaving our in-man unblocked to go get it. So if they don't have perfect operation time, well, guess who's going to go block it? So all week, we rep telling him he's going to come free, and then he blocks out, and we had it drawn all wrong. This guy would have been free to go get it. We told him their long snapper can go down and make a play, go cover him. He didn't do a job on blocking him. Right here, this was our goal, was to have this guy come free. He was the only one we were counting on blocking it. A lot of times people try to blow through the bowls, but a lot of times we send just to occupy so we can send someone off the edge with that. And so he did his job. This is where we said, stick your right hand out, take it off his foot. Our kickoff return, if there's any special team scheme that I've evolved in the most and changed up the most, that's kickoff return. My first year as special teams coordinator, I tried to specialize it each week to the kickoff team that we had, all the way to, all right, their L2 is their stud. He's making all the tackles. We're going to double him. To this week, I think our return right, bounce left is going to work. And we just never picked up the right guy. Our technique was horrible. So after a lot of self-reflection and where we can improve on and going back to the roots of being simplistic, we have one return, one guy to block, one technique. And the only thing that changes for the front line, that if it's return right, your butt's to the right. If it's return middle, your butt's to the middle. If it's return left, your butt's to the left. And then same with our fullbacks, return right, left, or middle. You have 3 aiming points. You're always going to, get together and set the wall 10 yards, 10 to 12 yards in front of the returner. Off returner is not catching it, block for your teammate. And so this is something where we can really hone in on our frontline technique, steal second base. The only thing that changes week to week is, if they have someone who kicks deep, you might have to steal second base to the 20-yard line. Someone who's can't kick deep, you might have to steal second base to the 30-yard line. So that's really about the only thing that changes. They know the exact guy they'll always have. The fullbacks will know their exact aiming points and where they're always getting together. Our kickoff return checklist. What are their alignments? Teams are doing a tremendous job now of, going 6x4, 4x6, being able to, go on the left hash, right hash, middle, and do all of that in one game. And so what are they able to do with that? What are their numbers to tell our kids to be able to remember? If you have a team that switches up their numbers and does all the crazy runs, I'm not going to try to expect the kids to remember. We kind of go with a different approach with that of drop spotting, still taking the same spot and pick up the man that's there, because it usually ends up to be the man anyway that would have been there when the ball was kicked. Do they huddle and do the little sugar huddle where, so we tell them, hey, they huddle. So when they huddle, we huddle, get ready for the surprise onside kick. Do the kickers change? So if one kicker comes in, they're always squibbing. So the other kicker comes in, they're always kicking deep. Does the kicker's approach dictate it? So if the kicker's approach changes, and that's because he's skying it or pooching it, well, that's what we work all week. We'll do 2 deep kicks, and then the last one we'll show, and everyone will be screaming, pooch, 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 before he even kicks it. Does the lineman dictate it? So if they always kick it deep in the middle, and all of a sudden they go off the left hash, and that means they're skying across the field. We'll do two deep kicks in the middle, put it on the left hash, and everyone's screaming, sky left, sky left, sky left. And then the biggest thing that we use for our kickoff return team, that especially in the MVL that we're seeing, and pretty much any team, is hardly anyone's kicking it deep these days, at least the teams that we play, unless they can kick it in end zone. So what we do is set up a hit chart. Well, the numbers don't lie. There's always, a time where 90% of the time, this is where they're skying it. And if they squib it, this is where they're usually squibbing it to. So that's where then the biggest thing that changes for us week to week is our kickoff return alignment. So our assignments never change, but our alignments do. So we're not caught off guard and giving them a surprise onside or a squib that we, fumble and they recover, or a sky that we have someone catching it that we don't want catching in a sky situation. So we take all that information and simplify it down to these things. Front line, you still have the same guy. You drop to the 30-yard line. Tight ends, you're going to have to drop to the 25. They're going to kick it anywhere, so rally and cut off. My first year, whenever teams skied, squib, pooch, you need to block this guy on the sky. Well, they never blocked the guy they were supposed to. So we just, simplified it to sprint your butt over to block for your teammate and cut someone off. So if this tight end on our left side catches it, you're sprinting over, putting your butt to him and cutting someone off. And we've had a lot more success with that. And so actually our biggest returns have happened off of sky. I think it's because of that. This week, this team, we thought the only really chance they had of staying in the game with us was getting things like fake punts or getting a surprise onside or a squib where they were able to recover it. So really all we worked was just crazy kicks and told our team the most important thing is getting the ball back. We don't care about the return or anything else. And so the hit chart that we saw this week, they had a really big chance of doing a surprise onside right up the middle, the walk the dog. So all we did was took our middle fullback and moved him up. We said, great, we'll give it to you right here. If you squib it down the middle of the field, we're recovered up to 30. But we're not going to give you a surprise onside walk the dog. This week dictated, we didn't have to really worry about a surprise onside kick with them. You could tell this week they had a deeper kick. A kicker that could kick deeper. And so instead of dropping to the 30, all they had to do was drop to the 25. And he loved to always kick it to their left or right. So that whole week, all we worked was right return, blocking the same guys. And so that simplistic approach, if it's right return, where you get your butt to the right, it's ingrained in their head. They don't have to worry about anything else. Then this is what I talked about. It always surprises me both ways. Is, you'll turn on film and you see a team huddle up and they sugar huddle and the other team doesn't. And I'm thinking, well, they're huddling up because they're going to do surprise onside kick. Or you turn on film and the team that huddles up, the other team doesn't, and they never surprise onside kick it. So I'm thinking, well, now you're just wasting your time huddling up with it. So with that, that team huddles, we huddle. This team loved to either kick off on the left hash, right hash, middle. They're really just dependent on what they wanted to do. And so we didn't have a million adjustments. We just told the front line, if they adjust on a hash, you're the only ones that are adjusting. Everyone else, you stay put. If they go to our right, you go 3 yards to our right, or to our right, you go 3 yards over to our right. If they go to the left hash, you go 3 yards to the left. So that's all they had to remember. So any team that's played Xenia knows they show a bunch of crazy kicks, and they almost caught us on a walk the dog this game. But they'll squib it, sky it, pooch it to anyone. So our big thing this game was, well, we're going to put our athletes in position to be able to field the ball. There's nothing more nerve-wracking than to have someone unathletic that's fielding the ball at the 40-yard line. Right here, this was a game where they thought their best chance was to sky it each time. We knew they had the capability to sky it, so we had two athletic fullbacks right there able to catch it. So it's kind of a wash, in my opinion, right here. They skied it, probably maybe a win. They got the ball to 25. We didn't fumble it or worry about anything like that. We got the ball back ready to go for offense. For kickoff, one thing, we're versatile and able to do a lot of different types of kicks. But keep it simple for the kids, as no matter what type of kick we're doing, they have the same job. So 3, 4s, and 5s on both sides, you're just flying down the field, staying in your lane, going to go make tackles. 1s, you're always the ball hawks. 2s, you're always contained. So we can take that approach, focus on the technique, and then call, in reality, 6 to 8 different types of kicks with them not having to think what their job is for that different type of kick. And I'm sure there's some parts I definitely, you might want to be able to tell your 5s or 4s a little different responsibility. But that's one thing I don't want to get into for offense, defense, special teams doesn't change. Hey, here's your job every single time, except this time, make sure you do it this way. And if we kick it this way, that's what we don't want, is having any confusion with the kids. So deep right, nothing changes. 2s, you're still contained. The 1s are still ball hawks. So we have deep right, deep left, deep middle. Their responsibilities aren't changing. And then what we showed to the kids at the beginning of the year is, yeah, that's easy to remember. And we show, all right, so here's our other kicks. Deep middle squib, we can squib it right and left, middle. We can sky it. And we can pooch it. So it's the same exact responsibilities. We just tell them for like the skies and pooches, your responsibility is going to happen a lot quicker, and you're going to have to squeeze a lot harder and quicker for when we're doing the sky or pooch. For our kickoff team, the checklist I'm using is obviously what's their alignments. Do they change week to week, or are they going to be the exact same alignment no matter what? What are their numbers? So who do we want to kick to? Who do we not want to kick to? Who are their studs? Who are their weak links that we could attack? Does their front line leave early that we could do a surprise onside kick? The big one, in no circumstance, kick to this guy, because he's going to return our first for a touchdown, and we want to get him any free TDs. What's their indicators? So we tell all of them, look at this fullback, look at this tight end, and call it out. So if they take off, we know it's, right, left. What are their return schemes? So we take all this information, and here's some plans we give to the kids. The X's say, hey, if I call sky to our kicker, this is where you want to kick it. And this week, this returner was an absolute stud. And so, we told our kicker, and absolutely no matter where he's lined up, do not kick it to this guy. This team, some teams just love returning to their bench. So, it's a scheme that all they do is reps. So they get really good at it. So we tell, our guys to be ready to avoid butt side every time they're returning to their bench. So don't take the bait and take the easy way out. Trust us, they're returning it to their bench every single time. Avoid butt side. So this scheme, every time we told our guys, these 4 guys are linking up, and they're doing a 4-man wedge. They're doing a wall right up. So the big thing we worked that week is run through it. Don't run around it. That's what they want. So that's all we worked that week. And we also made our guys aware and repped it that their tackles were going to blindside block every single time, across the field, blindside block, to have our guys ready for that. And you can tell with our kicks, our kicker checks with me. So every time I can have the last say of where we're going to kick it. So if they all of a sudden put their stud returner up to, left fullback, well, we're not going to sky it over to him if we've been doing it all game. Now we're going to kick deep opposite of him. Last one, this is another one that they returned every time to their bench. And so, what our game plan was, we're going to sky to their unathletic fullbacks. that weren't, really a danger of taking it to the house on us. And then we told them we're going to sky, then they're going to walk up. So when they walk up and we can kick it over their head, check with me, we'll kick deep. So this was a game, Olentangy. They were really pick your poison. Stud, 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 stud. It was, all right, great. Who are we going to kick to? So we kind of just pick our poison and decided to go after this guy, even though he was, an absolute stud of what he could do. And this is one where we got very lucky. You can see, and this is why it's so important, I think, what the game of football for special teams and kickoff return in high school is going to is rarely do people kick it deep every play now. So this is one where they check with me. And we thought, you know what, this game, what we're going to do, squib it, sky it all the time until they walk their guys up. We're not going to, risk with this team, the big thing was going to be field position. We got behind the sticks, we got behind the clock. They were going to, and they got the running game going. We could get in trouble. And so we didn't want to give them a free touchdown on kickoff. And so you're just going to make sure that we would take the ball at the 30 or let them get the ball at the 30-yard line and be okay with it. Same team, same thing. They switched their guys. And so, we had certain people that we wanted to kick at. And so that's wherever they align, that's who we were going to kick at. Just like teams do with defense, try to take their best player out of the game, take the team's best special teams players out of the game. Same thing with this team. They had absolutely 2 stud returners that were dangerous. So what we were going to make sure we did was just squib it and not let one of them catch it and give time for our guys to get down and cover. Then this is one where a team, we skied it the first couple times, and then they walked their guys up to about the 10 or 15-yard line. Let's look. They walked them up to the 15-yard line, so they check with me. So we try to kick it over their head. Now, with that being said, all these kickoffs and what we had, also if you have a kicker that kick it in the end zone, which we're going to, if we have, probably just going to kick it in the end zone each time, not have to worry about any of that and with the returns. Real quick, extra point field goal checklist. Not much, pretty much where we can get the fakes and being able to tell the kids anything weird that pops off, like watch the linebacker that jumps at you trying to get you to jump. Who's going to be lazy, who we can attack if we do want to fake it. One thing, like I said, extra information, telling our left guard all week, just getting him mentally prepared. Hey, this guy brings it. He's going to he's blocked, extra points before, he's going to bring it. Our extra point, field goal fake checklist. Who do they cover the eligible wide receivers? Is there any schemes that we can run gap for inside or outside? And who can we put into conflict where that we can either run, pass it on them? And right here, obviously being able to get the eligible wide receiver numbers of who we have to cover in case they would try to fake it for our extra point field goal block team. Who's the interior lineman that we can try to rush and power over and get a block, and who's their weak link wing. So what wing does not do a good job of stepping down and protecting that D gap? That's obviously one place that extra point field goal block teams try to attack. So which side is better to attack that week? So you can see our basic block alignment. We're going to try to attack these 2 guys right here. So if he doesn't do a good job stepping, you go block it, and he's going to try to get a hand on you. If it's not perfect placement, if it's not perfect timing, we're telling the guy off the edge, then you should be blocking and diving. One thing we make them aware, it's like, hey, their kickers are true kickers, so he's probably not going to fake it, but their holder is their quarterback. You guys better be ready for that. And then the last one, so those teams that do, the muddle huddle, we make it simplify it for the guys. So, we only have to practice it once or twice that week, and they're ready for it to go. Middle linebackers, 2 safeties, you walk up. If you line up on the left side, go to the left. If you line up on the right side, go to the right. We have the numbers, and we'll be just fine. So this is one where, what I showed you is we're attacking this guard. We're not trying to block it through every spot. All we care about is trying to block it right here and trying to block it right here. If it's not perfect execution, he's blocking it. If the wing doesn't do his job, he's blocking it. If we can, we're going to block it right through the A and B gap right here, 2-on-1. Same concept. Timing isn't perfect. He's blocking it, trying to go through their guard. And just like for a punt block team, put the guys who can do it in the position to do it. So number 77 right here, he's a stud. He's going right through the A gap. That's what we're going for, and he's able to get his hand on it.